Hello and welcome to the Cyberden right here on Siren Radio with your host, Jake the Voice. We have another lovely guest right here in the Cyberden. Please welcome professional voice actor, former radio DJ, and cruise convention organizer Jon St. John, better known as the voice of Duke Nukem and the Postal Dude from Postal 4. Thanks for coming, mate.
Hail to the king, baby. Hey, it's good to be here, Jake. It has been how long since we last did this?
10 years, surprisingly.
Holy crap, a full decade.
Crazy.
Wow. And you haven't changed a bit.
Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know. You choose, folks.
That's a good thing, and a good thing for me. So you were supposed to come back and say, and you look just the same, John, and I was going to wow, be blown away at how kind you are. But no, you kind of blew that now, so...
I'm good at screwing things up. Just ask my dad when it comes to his life. I'm good at making a mess of things. Anyway, what inspired you to enter the world of voiceovers?
I was kind of led into it, actually. So I had a long radio broadcast history. I started in 1975 when I was 14 years old in a small town in North Carolina. And I worked my way across America on the radio plan. That means doing blue humor and getting fired and then finding a new job in another city. And I eventually, in 1991, ended up in San Diego. And while I was a production director, the guy who makes all the commercials for a group of radio stations here in San Diego, one day Lonnie Manella walked into my studio to record an auto dealer ad. And Lonnie, as it turns out at that time, and still to this day, is one of the most prolific voice actors I've ever heard. She blows me away. Her talent is vast. Anyway, she comes into the studio. I'm setting up her microphone to record this car dealer ad. And she's doing a lot of wacky voices. And I kind of wanted to show off. I am, as you know, Jake, an attention whore. So I turned on my mic and started doing wacky voices in return. And Lonnie turned to me and said, wow, you have really remarkable range. Would you consider acting in video games? And I kind of laughed. Ha, 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 sure. There's no acting in video games. What, are you talking mocap or what? She goes, no, voiceover. So when there's very little voice acting in video games. It's little one-line phrases. She said, well, that's going to change with this game I'm casting right now called Duke Nukem 3D. And, of course, I laughed the first time I heard the words Duke Nukem. So she set up an audition, a live audition for me there in that radio station studio in San Diego with George Broussard, one of the creators of Duke Nukem. And he, at the time, was in Garland, Texas, with his company, which was 3D Realms and id Software. You might remember those names from back in the day. And so we get on the phone, and Lonnie introduces me to George, and George goes, okay, I hear you've got a lot of range and stuff. We want you to audition for this badass character. And I said, okay, well, what's your idea of a badass character? And initially he said something akin to Charles Bronson. I don't know if you remember Charles Bronson, but he kind of spoke like this. And I said that, and he goes, no, that's not it. And Lonnie chimed in and said, no, think of Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry. And so I did that line, so are you feeling lucky, punk? Well, do you? Right? And George said, yeah, I like that attitude, and I like that kind of gravelly sound, but can you bring it down lower? Because this Duke Nukem character is all roided up. He takes steroids, and he's a big, bodybuilder guy. And I went, oh, yeah, I'll just take it down an octave. Are you feeling lucky, punk? Well, do you? Or whatever the line is. And right then, at that moment, both Lonnie and George went, oh, that's it. And the audition process was literally as quick as the story I just told. That's about how long it took. And this was my foray into video gaming. I think I might have done something with another director earlier on, because the very first video game I remember recording for was an arcade game called Marvel vs. Capcom, where I was Captain America in that game. But there you go. That's the story of how I got the Duke Nukem voice, and I have been the voice of Duke since 1995.
Now that's one hell of a badge of honor right there.
That's a good long run, isn't it? And you know what's crazy, Jake, about the whole Duke Nukem thing? He's such an iconic character who is truly loved that it's been over a decade, God, more like 15 years since Duke Nukem even had his own game. And yet I still appear at conventions around the world because people want my autograph because of Duke Nukem.
Again, he is such an absolutely iconic, beloved character that has influenced the gaming
Absolutely.
world so much.
Yeah, you know, and people, I used to take offense at people calling me the legendary voice actor. What the hell makes me legendary? I was in the right place at the right time. I misunderstood. I had the wrong idea of what legendary meant. What it meant was, and when you think about it, I was the first voice actor to deliver full scripted lines in a video game. Duke Nukem 3D was the first game to do this. Doom didn't have it. Wolfenstein didn't have it. You know, I was the first voice actor to actually put full-length dialogue into a game. And that is why they called me legendary. And so to this day, I even refer to myself as, hey, I'm the legendary voice actor, Jon St. John.
And for any video game boffin nerds out there, don't correct him. Don't correct him. He's definitely the first. No,
Why? Otherwise, I'll rip off their heads and shit down their necks.
he means it. I should know. Anyway.
I'm the most non-violent person you'll ever meet, by the way. It's funny that I got the Duke Nukem character because I'm a live by the golden rule, peace, love. You know, I should have been a hippie, but I was born a little too late kind of guy. People call my car the Peace Mobile because there are peace signs on it, and you know, I don't even like guns, to be honest with you. So I'm like the polar opposite of Duke Nukem, but I do have this badass voice.
When was it that you actually realized the popularity, the sheer amount of love for Duke Nukem, especially as a character? When did it kind of click with you and you went, man, this is getting big?
Well, you know, it's funny that you ask that. It was years. I had no idea. I can tell you that when the game was released in 1996, my oldest brother, who lived on the other side of the country from me, you know, 3,000 miles away, he and I would play Duke matches through the dial-up modem. And if anybody were to call in while we were playing, it would cancel the game. We'd have to start over again. But we played from 1996 to I think 1999, without me realizing the game had been played by anybody else. I didn't know anybody bought the game. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't a huge gamer. I was busy with my radio broadcast career. And I was amazed the first time I was invited to a convention. I said, wow, you want me to come to your convention? Why? Well, you're the voice of Duke Nukem. I went, oh, you know that character. You must be the one who bought that game. And the guy said to me, dude, everybody plays that game. Everybody loves that game. We can't believe that we're getting you to come to our convention. So I go to this convention, and when I got there, and nobody knew what I looked like back then. I hadn't been seen. As soon as I was introduced in the opening ceremonies of that convention, people went nuts. Once they saw who I was, I could not cross the convention space or the hotel. I couldn't get through the lobby without being mobbed by fans who wanted to, you know, stand around and talk and ask me questions and get autographs and all that kind of stuff. And shoot, my first convention appearance, I didn't even have autograph cards. I didn't know that was a thing that I would eventually need to make fans happy. I learned that very quickly. But the unconditional love that I get from fans told me that, yes, this was a popular game. I had no idea until that first convention appearance. And now, gosh, to this day, the unconditional love I get when I make convention appearances, I have almost my entire career to thank to Duke Nukem now, because I couldn't stay in radio broadcasting. In this country, it became very corporate and crappy. Just every radio station sounds the same and they all suck. So I was lucky that I could transition too from broadcasting to voice acting, and really I owe it all to Duke Nukem. Granted, there have been many other characters over the years, and some very high profile characters that are keeping me in appearances today. Like Big the Cat from the Sonic games, Sonic the Hedgehog games. I'm making more appearances because of Big the Cat now than Duke Nukem, which is kind of funny.
Pretty funny considering that. It's one that I remember when we chatted about that about a good 10 years ago, and you were kind of like, oh, just that voice, that performance, like,
Yeah.
not too happy about it.
Yeah. Well, it's such a bad voice, you know.
But it makes people happy. It makes them laugh. So there's something there going.
I know, that's the thing, and it freaks me out. I didn't know there was such a huge following of Big the Cat until I started making convention appearances. And there are little pockets in this country where Big the Cat is perhaps loved even more than Sonic the Hedgehog. I know that sounds funny, but it was either Syracuse or Rochester, New York, last year. I'm sorry, my memory sucks now that I'm 63 years old. Anyway, short-term memory is a problem for me. Plus, I have that problem with my short-term memory, so I might repeat myself. And sometimes I repeat myself. But the point is, in New York, last year at a convention, I sold out of Big the Cat autograph cards, and everybody wanted to talk about Big the Cat and how they loved that adventure, their favorite part of the game. And I think I sold 5 Duke Nukem autograph cards, which is the exact opposite of my entire convention appearance history, to be honest. You know, the Duke Nukem thing made me famous, but in the last few years, there are so many Big the Cat fans. I'm surprised that Big the Cat hasn't been put into one of the movies yet, or come back in the video games. Of course, Sega will recast it when they do it, and I'll never get to be Big the Cat again because that's just what they do. And because that voice that I did in Sonic Heroes and Sonic Adventures was just awful, and I felt bad for Kyle Hebert, who was recast as Big the Cat in, I think, one game before they killed him off. And Kyle had to impersonate my stupid voice. So that could not have been fun for him either.
Well, he got paid for it, so I'm sure the money helped him kind of overcome that trauma of voicing him.
That's true. And you know, when I did the first Big the Cat voices, voice acting was not unionized. You didn't get union scale pay. I made very little money, where by the time Kyle did it, all of the voice acting for video games was unionized over here. So he probably made considerably more money than I did, even though I did a few games as Big the Cat, and he did 1 or maybe 2. I'm sure he made twice the money I ever did. I don't want to make it sound like it's all about the money, but it is how I make a living. So understand that, you know, I speak for a living, so money does matter, right?
Absolutely. I like money too. I love money. Getting back, of course, with Duke. Now, this is a bit of an important question I actually wanted to ask you. This is something that I've seen people debate about. I've seen Scott Miller, one of the the head honcho of Apogee
Apogee,
3D Realms. Yeah, like something he's also kind of thrown his hat in the ring about. So, how do you think Duke Nukem is correctly personified? How, you know, what do you think is going to be like the true, best, most accurate way to show off his personality, to characterize him?
Well, first, I don't characterize him, let me go there first, as the misogynist womanizer that people have referred to him as. Because let's keep in mind, what is Duke's mission? What is he doing? He's saving the women of the earth from aliens who want to abduct and impregnate them, right? So Duke is a knight in shining armor coming to their rescue. That's what Duke Nukem is. He is a hero, an honest-to-God hero who's saving women of this planet because other men on this planet apparently can't do it. They need Duke. Always bet on Duke.
Damn right. The fact that, again, like you say, he's a hero. He's not someone who disrespects. He's not someone who's like treating anyone like dirt or anything like that. He's a good guy. And besides, he's kind of, having all the women kind of throw them at him. He's kind of more like he's a hedonist, not a misogynist. He loves
exactly. It. Right. You nailed it there, Jake. That's exactly right.
And also, as Scott Miller said, personality-wise, something that some people kind of get wrong is that, yeah, sure, Duke might have his ego, he might have, he might be absolutely proud of himself and full of himself, but at the same time, he's not an asshole. He's not like one of those kind of Hollywood types who just loves themselves and think everyone else sucks or anything like that. He's still going to be lovable. He's still going to be likable with his kind of, if he's making a quip, it's more just like that's his natural charm coming through. He's not trying to do stand up or recite stupid memes or something like that. He's just being his smug self.
Right, and he's got an ego, but it's not out of control. I mean, he couldn't be Duke Nukem without an ego, you know. But he doesn't. He's not an asshole about it, I guess is the best way to say it.
Any favorite lines or favorite moments that have stood out to you from voicing Duke Nukem?
Oh, absolutely. And for me, in particular, it was from Duke Nukem Forever. We probably discussed this 10 years ago. You may have forgotten, but two women were responsible for the scripting of Duke Nukem Forever. And one of the lines they wrote is my favorite, and I believe it's in the game somewhere. I never heard it myself in game, but I didn't play it that much. The line was, I had eggs for breakfast. Your mom had sausage. Doesn't that kill?
Brilliant. It is in the game, it's in the multiplayer. It plays a lot if you kill another player, and you might hear Duke shout that out loud. It's so
no
brilliant.
kidding. Oh, that would explain why I never heard the line in game. Okay, cool.
I'm going to throw in one of mine. I mean, if anyone's listening in, if this is on YouTube now, if anyone's listening in, write in the comments, let us know yours. One that always tickles me pink, again, from Duke Nukem Forever's multiplayer, is like, it's a line that goes, breaking headline, this just in, you suck. And that's another killer player line.
I remember that one.
Love it.
I did a bit a few years ago for my YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's still there or not, but it was Duke Newsman instead of Nukem, and I have a news desk set up and everything, and I come in Duke voice and read headline news, and I didn't like the way it looked on camera because I didn't have all the makeup and everything to make me look like Duke, so I used my Duppet. You might be familiar with the Duke Nukem puppet I had made that I called Duppet. So I had the Duppet be Duke Newsman and do some bits, and that was pretty funny. Apogee liked it so much, my news set that is, that they had me become the spokesperson for them in recent years. And I did the weekly updates from Apogee now on that particular news set that I have here in my studio.
Speaking of the Duppet, how did it actually come about? That and also all the kind of the silly little TikTok videos, the shorts, and all sorts with the Duppet reciting cheesy lines, quippy pickup lines, and jokes and one-liners, stuff like that. Again, all fantastically within like Duke's sort of character. He's not those kind of videos where it's like, "Herder, I'm saying something funny," but no, it's like something that genuinely sounds like Duke himself would say. How did that kind of come about? Where did he get that idea?
I was surfing through TV channels one night with a buzz on, looking for something to entertain me. And the Muppet movie was on. Oh, wow, I haven't seen that since, gosh, I must have been 20 years old when that came out. So I put on the Muppet movie, and I'm enjoying watching it. And I thought, I heard Kermit do a line. I can't remember what the line was, but I repeated it right after him while watching the movie in my Duke Nukem voice. And at that moment, that little light bulb, ding, came on above my head. And I went, wow, wouldn't it be funny as hell if there was a Duke Nukem Muppet? Wait a minute. Is that something I can commission? So I start going down that rabbit hole on the internet, and I find a young lady up in Hollywood that designs puppets and builds them for various, whatever. Commercials, mostly TV commercials and that kind of stuff, who want to use Muppet-like puppets. And so I gave her a call, and I said, hey, can you make this? And she looks at the picture of Duke Nukem and says, yeah, I think I can do that. So I paid her handsomely, and after about 3 weeks, FedEx showed up at my front door with a box that had the Duppet in it. And from there, all I had to do is set my studio up and start recording bits. And man, I made like 100 Duppet clips and put them on the internet. And my following on TikTok went from like 3,000 to, well, I'm coming up on 105,000 now with 1.1 million likes. So that's mostly due to the Duppet who brought people to the game. And then at one point, about a year and a half ago, the audio from my TikTok Duppet clips became some of the most used audio on that platform, with people lip syncing to my Duppet phrases. And that just drove the following up even further. So it all came about because I was watching the Muppets on TV one night, and I got a wild hair up my ass and followed through with it, paid some money, got the puppet, which I called the Duppet. Duke plus puppet equals dup it.
I'm curious to know about, like, when you do kind of get lines to be able to voice Duke again, like, for example, back in 2011, there was Duke Nukem Forever. Then there was 2016 with the Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour, and you re-recorded all of the lines for that. Do you kind of, like, get that kind of jolt of adrenaline when you get to kind of just pick up the character again, grab the script, and start just delivering some badass lines?
Absolutely, I do. Every time I record that voice, I think, yeah, people are going to enjoy this. And it's not about my performance, it's the material. It's always funny. Duke is, again, an iconic, most loved character in the video game world. So every time I record, I feel like, oh, this is great. And here's something you don't know, is that I recorded this voice, not for a Duke Nukem game, but for a game that is coming out in July. It is a well-known game. I have signed an NDA, so I can't tell you any more than that, but know that you're going to hear this voice in a major game coming up this July. And it's badass.
Most interesting. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye out for what this mystery game might be.
Yeah, and if you follow me on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, you'll know. I mean, the second that they tell me it's okay to announce, I'm going to be all over that stuff, man.
Do you think that there is indeed still a future for a future upcoming Duke Nukem video game or any kind of product? Do you think there is a future for Duke?
All I can say is hashtag Ask Randy. I don't own the franchise. Randy Pitchford from Gearbox Software owns the rights to Duke Nukem. So there will be nothing Duke Nukem until Randy decides to do something. And as many times as I have messaged him, phone called him, emailed him, and said, hey, what's the news? He has nothing positive to tell me about another Duke Nukem game. So I'm fairly certain he'll keep selling the rights to put Duke in other games, like he did with Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. Remember, I replaced Steve Bloom's character, Grayson, as Duke Nukem. You could choose either character in that one. I don't know what to tell you. I have absolutely no idea. I can tell you this. It's hurting my career to not have more Duke Nukem games coming out. I could be a top circuit guest at conventions around the world. Instead, I'm more like level B, if you will, amongst the voice actors because my character is so, I don't want to say irrelevant anymore, but well, hell, like I said, it's been, 10 to 15 years, somewhere in there, since Duke Nukem has had a Duke Nukem game. And as long as somebody sits on the rights to it, doesn't sell it off or make a game, it only hurts me financially and with my career. Because he was such an iconic character, Duke Nukem will always be the thing that drove my fame, right? And you can't help but make money when you're famous. The more famous you are, the more money you get for literally doing nothing. You know that's true. That's how it works. Celebrity pays because you get invited to do these things and then sell autographs or sell merch or appear in commercials or do cameos in movies. All that kind of stuff only comes with a certain amount of fame, and mine is waning, which is sad. As I get older, there's no Duke Nukem games out there anymore, none being made, and the character is slowly fading away because somebody won't make a new game or sell the rights. I mean, I wish, I shouldn't say this, and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but I wish that Randy Pitchford would just sell the rights to the game to somebody who wants to make a Duke Nukem game. It's shit or get off the pot, man. Make a game or sell the rights off. But that's where I'm stuck now, is wishing and hoping on a future for Duke Nukem where there may or may not be one.
Randy, if you're listening, make it happen. If you're going to sell it, I'll buy it off you for 2 crayons and a carton of chocolate milk. How does that sound?
I'd buy that for $1. Didn't I ever see RoboCop? Yes, I did. And again, short-term memory issues, and I'm old.
I can relate, minus the old part, but getting there. Anyway, so okay, well let's talk about other kind of projects you've been in, especially, of course, Postal 4. How did that come
Oh, yeah.
about?
I used to hang out with this guy, David Eddings. He was the vice president of Gearbox Software at one time. And he was also Claptrap in the first Borderlands game. I don't know if you recall that particular character, but that was voiced by David. And he happens to be friends with the guys over at Running with Scissors. And so a few years ago, I get a call out of the blue from David saying, "Hey, my friend Mike Schachter is going to reach out to you. You should talk to him. He wants to talk to you about a video game role." I said, "Okay, cool." So the next thing I know, I'm getting messages from Mike Jarrett Schachter over at Running with Scissors, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for a voice for our video game. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's called Postal." And I thought, "Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that the one that was banned in Australia and several other foreign countries because it was ridiculously violent, for no good reason?" And he said, "Yeah, that's us." I went, "Oh, well, having been Duke Nukem, that kind of fits my brand. What are you looking for?" He goes, "Well, here, I'll send you a copy of the first game, the Postal 4 game, voiced by, what was his name? Rick Hunter, I want to say. And then there were a couple of other guys too, I guess, who did the voice because they recast it for Postal 2, Postal 3. And I think Postal 3 was the abortion of a game that never went anywhere. I don't recall. But they wanted to come back in a big way with Postal 4. So they hired me to do the voice. But when I listened to the first one, that guy Rick, whatever his name, kind of sounded like a pukey FM disc jockey. You know what I'm talking about? So my audition must have sounded something akin to this, because that's the way I heard him, as kind of a over the top FM DJ who just barfed everything, right? So they didn't like that. He said, "No, that's not him at all." And I said, "Okay, why don't you tell me who Postal Dude is, and I'll come up with a voice for it." And he goes, "Okay, the guy is sarcastic and snarky as hell." And I said, "Are you listening to my voice right now, dude? My regular speaking voice. When I hear this voice, I don't like it. I love my Duke voice. I love all of my character voices. I don't like this voice. I sound a little nasally, snarky as hell, and I think maybe my natural voice would be the right read for this character." He said, "Oh, well, okay. Would you mind auditioning in your regular voice?" So I did. All the lines like, "Hey, you want to sign my petition?" All the lines read just in this voice with my natural amount of snark that is attached to my personality, and they loved it. They said, "Okay, you're right. Your natural voice is right for this." So as it turns out, Postal 4 is the only game I've ever recorded in my natural speaking voice. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I helped promote it heavily initially when it came out. But then I found out, not even through them, not even through Running with Scissors, but through some fans, they said, "Hey, did you know they put all the original voices back in Postal 4? I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, you can play as any one of them now." And I thought, wow, the way they lowballed me on paying me because they didn't have any budget, but then they had to pay the other three guys to re-record all the lines I just did for the game so you could play any of the. Wow. I felt really disrespected by that. I don't know how you perceive it, Jake, and I'd love to hear your opinion, but if you were me, how would that have made you feel? Oh, now you can play with any of the 4 Postal voices from the other games.
Yeah, I can shed a bit of light on this, actually.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely. What basically happened was Running with Scissors literally had no budget. They had like shoestring budget. They kind of released it episodically, like the first day, Monday, then Tuesday, and kind of piled on with more content, more edits and stuff. So over
Right.
time, it became a gradual development while it was still in early access. And that meant over time, they were able to kind of get more and more funding. And with that, they decided, like, because the thing is about Running with Scissors, the one thing is, underneath that kind of jokey, kind of, quirky kind of sense of humor that they are genuinely really humble and, like, supportive when it comes to what the fans want. They love treating the fans. So
Oh, I like to hear that.
yeah, so when it reached that point when they went, okay, we got enough budget, why not just get all the Postal dudes back? So we can basically make this like a Postal dude all-star, and the fans can basically say, we're going to pick our favorites. We might mix and match. We might choose John. We might choose Rick Hunter. You know, we'll choose whoever we feel, and maybe we'll change it along the way. So again, it's not so much. Again, you know, you didn't have the context. I get that, but it's not so much.
Yeah, I think that's the point right there.
Yeah. So they would,
but you know, they should have reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to do this," just so you know. But maybe they didn't consider, you know, how I might feel disrespected that I was lowballed on the rate, and then they went and paid the other 3 guys to also be in the game, so you could pick any voice. Those guys all got their own game, right? So, and when I'm asked, and as a matter of fact, today on TikTok, somebody asked me when I posted this lead roles voiceover demo that I put on social media today. One of the comments was, "Hey, you left out Postal Dude." And I said, well, I was not the exclusive voice of that character.
Maybe. Well, maybe you could interpret it that way, but technically you were still the first Postal Dude for Postal 4. So that's actually, if I recall correctly, the default Postal Dude voice. You boot up the game, that's the first voice you will hear unless you go in the options. Good. So again,
that's good to know. I guess I shouldn't be so butthurt. I just think if they had let me know they were going to do that, then I would have been prepared for it, but they didn't. And so I felt disrespected that, oh, you can play any of the voices in the game, then it's not a game that I'm the lead in.
I hope this has kind of like helped make you feel a little bit more relieved about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel much better about it now. Thanks for that explanation. I appreciate it. Yeah, they were low budge, but then they had a bump in popularity, I take it, right? Okay, you know what? I'm going to take the credit for that. I'm going to take the credit for that. They got the Duke Nukem voice actor to be the Postal Dude in Postal 4, and so they sold a bunch of games, and they were able then to bring the other voice actors in as well.
It helped. Contributory factor. So there you go.
There you go. There you go. I'll take all the credit for that. Thank you very much.
I'll take some credit too. I voiced in that game as well. I voiced the Peter Dinklage parody, and also a very grumpy...
Was that you?
Yeah, that was me. That was me.
I didn't know that.
I kid you not. That was actually me. Like, I recorded those lines in an old house of mine with a blanket over my head. Really over-exaggerated, shouting lines like, here's some TP for your bunghole! Then I said to them, hey, do you need like a voice for some radio show? And Mike basically said, yeah, sure. Try this. Electronic show. Find some music, improvise the whole show. So I did, doing like a voice like, hey, I'm the radio presenter. And they said, oh yeah, you're going to be called Jake the Cock. Oh. So, hey, I'm Jake the Cock. And Mike said, no, honestly, I'm not convinced by that American accent. Be you, but just be miserable. So I was like, okay. Hello, I'm Jake the Cock. And you have Mayor Mike J to thank me for this illustrious name I had to change it to.
He was right, man. That's it.
I had to make myself like anti-radio presenter friendly, just make myself so sick and tired of doing like presenting a show in the town of Eden Sin. So
yeah, and kind of a John Oliver attitude there. I like it a lot.
Thank you. All right, so turning it right back to you, the questions.
Yes.
How would you describe the kind of the recording session, and were there any other kind of like moments or lines as the dude that you especially enjoyed?
Well, I was self-directed. You know, I'm just sitting here in this very studio on this very microphone recording. So no, nothing special. When you self-direct, it's very leisurely, very, very easygoing. I had days to get the all of the lines recorded perfectly and send them back. And they liked all of the takes I gave them. I don't think they had me redo anything. Maybe it's possible I had to redo a line or two, you know, do some pickups, but they seem very pleased.
My next question is about another particular game you voiced in, Turbo Overkill as the AI companion Sam. That's a notably different role than what you're usually used to. How was the recording session for that then?
Oh, that was fun, and that is just the most adorable character I've ever played. I don't know if you've seen the artwork of Sam, but he's just the cutest little thing. Of course, he only appears on a video screen in a car because he is AI software that helps the player through the game, and he has a catchphrase which is "Good hunting, sir." So I did him in this kind of accent. I don't know what English accent you would call this, but this was the voice of Sam that I read like this, and he got the catchphrase of the game, "Good hunting, sir."
I'd call that a mock London voice. Hello, I'm from London.
I like that description. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to record. The guys at Apogee just let me go for it. And again, self-directed with that particular game. I've gotten so good at dissecting scripts over the years that a lot of developers just let me record on my own. And I've assured them you're going to get a better quality that way than trying to make me record everything in one session while you're listening on the phone and interrupting the recording with more direction. That typically does not work well for me. I have two issues that other voice actors probably don't have. The first one is I don't want to see the artwork of a character I'm going to play prior to playing the character. I would rather hear a description of how old is this character, where is the character from, what dialect are we talking about, what is the age, is it a raspy voice, is it a smooth voice, does it have a lot of air in it, or is it growly, gravelly? I'd rather hear a descriptor like that than see artwork, because once I see the artwork and I get a voice in my head that goes to that picture, I find it very hard to steer away from it. So I don't like to see the artwork. And the other thing is that I don't like to be interrupted once I've gotten going on a read. Because once you're in character, if somebody stops you down and gives you a long explanation of something, you tend to lose the groove you're in. You know what I mean? When you're recording. You've probably gone through this before in a directed session. They'll stop and talk to you for, 3 or 4 minutes, and you totally lose your train of thought and the feel that you had for the character. And so I don't like that very much. And I assure my clients that the best reads you're going to get from me are when you just let me do my own thing. And so most of them do, and they're usually quite pleased with what they get. Because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I'll do 15 takes on a line until I get it just right, and then provide them with the top 3 takes that I got, So, self-directing really works best for me, and most of my clients allow me to do that.
Yeah, I can definitely agree there. As a fellow voice actor, I can definitely agree. Better to kind of be in your own habitat, uninterrupted, rather than someone going, "Oh, actually, could you do this voice slightly different?" It's like, shut up, just let me do the role. So
yeah, it can be too distracting sometimes. And if they just let me do it on my own, they're gonna get a whole bunch of different takes and every different inflection you can imagine for that line. I never leave them wanting for more.
Just quickly getting back, of course, back on topic with Turbo Overkill.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, we all need a rant moment. We all need it. So,
right.
Any other particular kind of like favorite lines or moments from that particular game?
None of them really stand out to me. They weren't particularly funny. Most of the lines from Sam were cues for the player, instructions, if you will. So there were no, the one catchphrase, as I mentioned, "Good hunting, sir." It was about it. The only memorable thing to me about that character. There were no big catchphrases other than that. So really, he's just giving direction to the player to get through the game more stealthily, I would say.
Completely understandable, of course. You don't need, you don't need like a big grandiose character just to be able to kind of prod the player in the right direction, but still give them a reassuring pat on the back with a lovely British accent alongside to make it all more worthwhile.
Once again, you've summed it up perfectly, Jake Parr.
Ding! All right.
Uh-huh.
Moving on now. Are there any other voice roles that have stood out to you over the years?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of people don't know that I was the entire cast of Twisted Metal 4, with the exception of Mrs. Jones, who was played by Lonnie Manella, who cast me in that game, as she did cast me as Duke Nukem and Big the Cat. I'm Rob Zombie, General Warthog, Orbital, Mr. Jones, Trash Man. I'm all of the characters, but I'm also the Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown. The guy who does the narration and everything on that game. And that's the most memorable to me because, and you'll relate to this, today when we get an email for an audition for a video game, there's always a disclaimer at the bottom in tiny text that says, caution, this job may contain vocally stressful work. You're familiar with that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm convinced that I had a part in that because back in 1990, whatever it was, when I recorded Twisted Metal 4, I think I did that for 989 Studios, who became Sony Interactive. I could be wrong about that, but I do remember I recorded it in Rancho Bernardo, where Sony was headquartered for recordings for software at the time. But oh yeah, it was Rex Baca. He was the director who helped me get through this session. It was 4 to 6 hours long, as I recall, and the Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown voice that I did was my takeoff of the Tales of the Crypt Keeper. I don't know if you recall that. HBO back in the day had a show called Tales from the Crypt, and he spoke like, Tales from the Crypt! And now a little story I like to call Dead Air, right? So I do this voice for several hours. It was vocally stressful. And then I had to do maniacal laughs and stuff like that. Can you hear how my voice changed just now doing that?
Yeah, slight bit of strain in
That
your
was
voice.
vocally stressful. Well, after I did that game, all of the character voices, and then, of course, the Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown we saved for last. Like you always do emotives last because it's going to tear your throat up, right? For 2 to 3 days after that session, my voice was stuck like this, and I couldn't get it back because it was so vocally stressful. And so ever since then, I noticed it took a couple of years, but a couple of years afterwards, I was getting auditions with that disclaimer saying that it might be vocally stressful. And that's important to know because for those 2 to 3 days after I recorded, I could not audition for anything nor do any jobs because my voice again was stuck like this. And that was tough for me at the time. I was still the staff announcer for the Fox 6 television affiliate here in San Diego, a job that I had for 27 years. And for 3 days, I had to hire my friend Art to fill in for me to record things for Channel 6 because, again, my voice was stuck like this after that very vocally stressful gig. I'll always remember Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown from Twisted Metal as one of the most memorable voices for me because it caused me so much harm vocally.
But a great performance nonetheless. I mean,
oh, thank you. I thought it was delightful.
Well, I'll correct you. I think you voiced about 80% of the male voices for that game. There were a few others that they got for other characters, but you did very much voice like the vast majority of the cast. And
was there another male cast member that I'm not aware of? Name the character.
One of them was the original big bad guy for the series who became a playable character called Calypso, voiced by Mel McMurrin.
Calypso was actually in that? Because I thought by Twisted Metal 4 that Calypso, I told the story of Calypso as the Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown. I didn't realize Calypso was in that game too. I thought he would already have been done.
With Twisted Metal 4, that basically what 989 Studios did is they kind of reinvented the story in like their own little way, and they made it so that Sweet Tooth, or Needles Kane as it's called, he's taken over the tournament. He's booted out Calypso, who used to be the one who'd be running the tournament. He'd make the give the winners wishes, but they always backfire.
Yeah.
So Sweet Tooth takes over, but Calypso decides to get revenge by re-entering the tournament, this time as a contestant. So it's like, he's like one character that you didn't voice, but again, you voiced about 80% of the cast, of the male cast anyway.
Okay. Hey, do you know who was the guy who played Calypso in that one?
Like I say, he's called Mel McMurrin. I actually interviewed him earlier in January this year, actually. Lovely bloke.
So he's still around. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Is he still doing video games?
Well, as far as I know, I mean, he's still doing like voice acting in general. Not sure about any latest video games, but hey, if you ever want to get in contact with him, give us a shout. I can hook you up.
Oh, that's cool. Good to know, man. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. He even told me like, "Hey, Jake, if you ever want to collaborate on some projects or something cool, then like, let me know." It's like, hey, maybe ideas might be brewing. You never know.
Once again, Jake, you have been a wealth of information to me.
Hmm.
I've learned things about these games that I did not know myself.
Glad to hear. And I'll also give you credit as well, John, for the Sweet Tooth spokesman. That was one of those voices when I was in my early days of voice acting. I loved watching the cutscenes. I hadn't played the game yet, but I loved listening to the cutscenes. Like, hey, that's Jon St. John. It's like, oh wow, all the voices, and that was one of the voices I actually got to try to practice. Like I've got about good 9, 10 years of experience now, so like jump in and out of those kind of crazy like gravelly voices
Right.
without worrying
Yeah.
about the strain on my voice anymore. I can like just keep doing that, which I'm quite
Yeah.
proud of. So again, I have you to thank for that inspiration.
Oh, that's nice. Good to know. I was a positive influence on you, not a negative one.
Who would have guessed?
Because I did corrupt the morals of so many young teenage boys back in the 90s.
Which was the
Showing
style
up
at the time.
pixelated boobs. Yeah, shake it, baby. That still cracks me up. Pixelated boobs, and people were so pissed off about it.
Let's get talking about King Con Cruise. How did this actually come to
Well,
be?
yeah, thank you for that. Well, after so many years of being a guest at conventions around the world, I realized that what my fans were getting from me was a minute and a half to 2 minutes of conversation, a handshake, and an autograph. And that was the extent of their interaction with me, unless they were the fanboys who were bold enough to say, "Where are you going to be drinking later?" Because they all know I do love my shots of tequila at conventions, and a select few would show up at a bar and drink with me, and I'd buy the first round, and they become super fans because we got to actually connect, right, on a deeper level. And that's because only a few of the fans were bold enough to take that chance. Most fans would love to do that, but they're too shy, you know? And I thought, man, how do you bring them out of their shell? How do you make a convention experience where you meet a celebrity voice actor better? I bet I could do a better job of that if I had my own convention. And then that light bulb above my head lights up and hey, wait a minute. What if I had my own convention? How could I make it better and different where you interact with the celebrity voice actors, but it's got to be more than that. And then I thought, oh my God, a cruise. So I got on the line with Royal Caribbean and we set up some stuff. And so the King Con cruise came to be back in 2018. And well, every year, it's just the most fun that I ever have. It's my vacation every year, and I'm sharing it with fans and with other celebrity voice actors who come along. So, like in past years, I've had John Patrick Lowry, who's Sniper, and his wife Ellen McLean, who's GLaDOS in the Portal games. Last year, I had Richard Epcar, who's the Joker in all things Batman these days, and his wife Ellen, who does a lot of directing and voice acting. Wes Johnson, who's in the Fallout games, along with Mike Rawson, who's in those games. I've had a bunch of celebrity voice actor friends come along over the years, and we're building it to be even bigger. I can't tell you who my guests are for next year yet. One of them, though, I have that great gentleman, Patrick Keefe, who is huge in the gaming community and D&D, and does our pirate LARP on Nassau. They actually go to a pirate fort on the island of Nassau in the Bahamas. And that's led by Patrick Keefe, who is one of the best people I've ever known. Oh my God, he is so much fun to hang out with. So my idea, to wrap it up in a nutshell here, was to have a convention cruise every year for a week, a Monday through Friday cruise from Miami to the Bahamas, where I bring along celebrity voice actor guests. And every night we all dine with the attendees, and then the attendees can do adventures with us, like jet skiing, rock climbing, kayaking, play mini golf. We have a tournament called Drunk Drunk Putt Putt, where we give out a trophy each year to the person with the best score, because there's always a mini golf course on every cruise ship. And we do a lot of fun adventures like laser tag. Imagine GLaDOS on a megaphone announcing during our laser tag game. These are the kind of things that we do on the King Kong cruise. It's not expensive. It actually costs less to do than a land-based convention, because for the whole week you're paying probably half of what you pay for a hotel for a weekend convention in New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Atlanta, wherever, right? The UK. So it's a bargain. It's a good time, although the food is included. It's a lot of drinking and partying, but mostly it's where convention meets vacation. And it is a very unique fan experience, unlike any other in the convention industry, in the fan convention industry. So that's what King Kong Cruise is all about. Sounds great, doesn't it? You can check it out at kingkongcruise.com. And I encourage you all to go there now. Do it now. Log on, damn it. If that doesn't convince you, how about sail with the king, baby?
Killer line.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, it really is. And fun facts, actually. Fun fact. I know my very close good buddy Lee Jackson. I always like to impersonate him, and he listens to my radio show, The Cyberden, when I'm live. So I always say, "Hey, it's Lee Jackson, composer for Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and more." I do like a really rubbish kind of impression of him.
That was very good. Yeah, Lee was a guest this year and last year. And as often as we can get him to come along, he comes along, and people just enjoy hearing his background on how he created music for video games over the years, his process. And this last year, this past March, he did a panel called 8-Bit to Orchestral, which covered all video game music creation and the creators of those musical themes from way back in the very beginning up to today's present day fully orchestrated themes. It was a very nice presentation. And Lee is a friend of mine as well. He's a mutual friend of ours. And we love having Lee along on the cruise.
Fun fact about that presentation, Lee actually asked me for help with finding the voice. There were recordings of like these soundtracks through the years, through history that he asked me to hunt down and said, yeah, here you go. Here's like a bunch of them. One thing that got cut out from the presentation, though, for time constraints, he was going to say, also, like, in attendance is Jon St. John. We've got him. He's best known as. And what he was going to do is play a selection of clips of anything that wasn't Duke Nukem that you voiced in, like, this game, Twisted Metal 4, and Evil Zone, and, probably Duke Nukem. But anyway.
Everything but Duke. That would have been funny. Maybe he'll save that for next year's cruise.
I hope so. He had to cut it for time constraints, but I was happy to help him with that idea as well. I thought,
well, thanks. You certainly helped make his presentation more fun for all of us, so thank you for your contribution. You've actually been a part of King Kong Cruise, Jake.
Inadvertently, without having to spend a penny. I mean, someday I will. Someday, hopefully, if I get enough money, I'll fly myself to the US, jump on the boat, and join in. No drinks for me.
We'd love that.
Yeah, I'm not
Dude,
a drinker.
We would love that. You would have to do a show from the cruise.
Maybe it could happen. Maybe. Who knows?
I think so. There's good internet connectivity on the ship.
Heck, maybe. We'll see if that happens.
Or just record it. Record it on NASA or on the private island. Or record it at the water park on Coco Cay. That could be fun. The ambient sounds would be thrilling.
Could work. And technically, I'd probably be the only sober person. I don't do like drinks or drugs, stuff like that. So it'd be funny going, it's time for a live interview. Hey, it's Jon St. John at the bar. Hi, Jake. I've just drank 5 tequilas. Watch me say the 7 words he can't say on the radio. No, let's just play a song. We'll see, mate. We'll see. Maybe I might be able to.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you. I know for sure last year, Lee Jackson actually played the Cyberden main theme that he composed, and he played that during his previous presentation and got a standing ovation out of that. So, yeah, a bit of Cyberden has been on the cruise. Maybe the full thing will be there. We'll see.
That'd be so cool.
All right. Well, I got 2 more questions for you. One of them's a little bit serious, though. It's to do with AI, artificial intelligence being used especially for voice acting. I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not real happy with it, to be honest with you, because I've already been abused. There's a Chinese text converter program you might be familiar with. That company ended up using some of my voice for other instructional videos because they had AI mimic me. And just about a month ago, I got an email from a fan that had a rendition of me, and it was my voice singing Johnny Cash's version of the song Hurt. I've never sung that song in my life, but when I heard it, I went, what? I don't remember ever doing this. But oh my goodness, it was my voice. So I've already been sampled and used in AI without any pay or any knowledge of it happening until after the fact. So I'm not happy with it. I would prefer that AI voice acting not be a thing ever, especially if it is copying somebody's voice, because you're then just cutting them out of the loop. You might as well never pay us ever again to do what we do for what our talent is if you're going to sample our voices and re-script us in AI. I'm totally opposed to it.
Completely understandable. Besides, AI is just a tool. It doesn't have personality. It can't improvise. It can't laugh or emote like in all sorts of different ways. It's just a tool. It's kind of middle of the road slop. And who wants slop?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I have used AI and I still do. Let me explain, however. I use AI for silly posts I do on social media. Like I wanted to create a parody commercial for Duke Burger. You know, remember Duke Burger from the Duke Nukem Forever game? So I created one recently and put it on social media. And I took a lot of heat from that at first from people going, oh, well, you can't pay a real artist. Well, when I do things for my business like King Kong Cruise that I'm going to make money on, I only hire an artist. I've hired a couple over the years. My favorite is Ardat Lilitu out of Rome, Italy. She's a fantastic artist. Her real name is Laura, and I pay her every time I commission her to do any work for me. In fact, one of our newest, our main logo for King Kong Cruise was designed by Laura, and she recently did some artwork of Duke with a captain's hat on and a seagull on his shoulder that we just love. It's adorable. It looks like one of the seagulls from Nemo. Remember the ones going, mine, mine? And we put Sail with the King, baby, underneath it, and it's a great logo that we use. But the point is, I always hire an artist when it's for business that I'm going to make money from. But when I'm just doing social media posts for fun to be silly and entertain people, I use AI. I'm not hurting anybody by doing that. They're images that I dictate to a software program, and it creates them. And nobody's getting hurt by this. I could not possibly afford to hire an artist every time I want to do this. I needed like some 15 or 16 images for that one little 1-minute clip that I did about Duke Burger. And to pay an artist for that would have cost me an arm and a leg, and there's no return on it. I get followers, sure, but that doesn't translate to money, not for me yet at this point, because you need an awful lot of followers. You have to be a hell of an influencer if you want to make a living off the internet memes that you post. And so if I ever make big money like that, I'll hire a real artist for it. But right now, while I'm still a struggling voice actor, who has to pay my bills every month and living, project to project for pay, I'm going to use AI in that way.
That's understandable, I think. If it's just for goofing around a little bit, then understandable.
Yeah, it's just for fun. I got a great new headshot of me without having to go to a photographer. Oh, oops. Okay. I see where I just cut somebody out of the loop. But a photographer who took my picture years ago and got paid for it, I'm now using AI to modify that picture to look like I'm in a different setting. So I didn't really rip anybody off, but I didn't have to hire a new photographer to get a new look.
You just tweaked a few things. You edited a few bits in the background. Fair enough.
It's like I airbrushed it, for goodness sake. It's like I photoshopped it.
Sounds good to me. I'm not going to argue.
Okay. It's fair.
Yep. Actually, I'll throw in this little bonus thing before I've asked the final batch of questions.
Okay. Bonus question.
Yes, bonus question. Did you hear about an Easter egg in a game called Blood? Same game engine as Duke Nukem 3D.
No. Is it a mention of Duke in some way?
Yes, actually.
Oh, do tell, Jake Parr.
Yes.
Tell me.
So, so there's a fantastic Easter egg where in a secret area in Blood, which is it's like a parody of horror tropes, horror genres, all
Right.
sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Yeah.
same game engine as Duke Nukem 3D. It was being worked on by 3D Realms, but they sold it off to Monolith. And as a bit of a thank you gift, you could find Duke's corpse that's like hanging from like a chain that's like covered in blood. He's missing an arm and stuff. And the protagonist,
Damn.
the protagonist kind of he manipulates one of his lines, and he says like in this really gravelly voice, he goes, "I got time to play with you," and then you can slap the corpse around. You slap the corpse around, and then even better, when you slap the corpse, he goes, "Ooh, shake it, baby."
Okay, what's the character that killed Duke then?
Caleb.
Caleb.
Yeah.
I don't like anybody being able to kill Duke. But okay. That's a funny Easter egg. I like it.
I'll have to send you that clip. And if Duke could get back at Caleb, if he had something to kind of shout back at him, what do you think he'd say?
Let's see. Am I on the spot to create a brand new Duke catchphrase right now, here?
Maybe like, I'm gonna make you drown in blood, Caleb. What about that?
I'm gonna make you drown in jizz, Caleb.
Rated 18.
Whoopsie.
Oh my!
I've crossed the line again.
I'll tell you what, I'll
I'll
probably
rip out your eyeball and piss on your brain. Oh, by the way, Jake, that line I just recited from Duke Nukem Forever
yeah.
is a throwback to the original Duke Nukem. It also was stolen borrowed from a major motion picture. Can you name the motion picture that line came from?
Ooh, I saw you say it on social media, but I can't remember off the top of my
you saw
head.
that post.
Yeah, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, though.
Let's see if I can. I'll give you some clues. It starred Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, Don Amici.
Google, help me. No, I'm not going to make it in time. Nah,
Okay, it was the bad guy in Trading Places. Was a character called Clarence Beeks, and near the end of the film, when he's talking to Franken and Davis, he says, "I'll rip out your eyeball and piss on your brain." And I saw this just a couple of months ago, and I went, "Wait a minute, what?" I've seen that film. I've been watching that film since back in the 80s. I didn't remember that line at all until recently when I watched it, and I went, "Holy crap, that's where that line came from."
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved, baby. Trading Places.
Just so you know, I might just animate that cheeky line you recorded just a few minutes ago. Just so you know, we'll see. But
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it.
Maybe.
Do it now. Or whenever you have a chance. Oh, now I sound like frickin' Doug Huggum. How about a nice Christian side hug? Reuse, repurpose, recycle.
The best, most politically correct character out there.
Right? The polar opposite of Duke Nukem is Doug Huggum.
Damn right.
I'm sorry, I was interrupting you as you were getting ready for the final question.
Yeah, okay, so the second and final question is going to be, outside of voice acting, how do you like to relax?
Oh, playing live music. I have a group of musician friends here who are extremely talented. And on Tuesday nights down in a town called Solana Beach, overlooking the ocean, we get together and we jam. And every time I bring new songs into the mix, I'll say, "Hey guys, let's do this song from 1967 by The Kinks." And they'll go, "Okay." Everybody opens up their iPads and finds a chart. And we play songs, and we sound good because the musicianship is fantastic. And every once in a while, we'll do a gig for pay, but not too often because I travel too much for the rest of these guys to be able to commit, and I sing a lot of the songs. So that's what I like to do. I like to play live music, whether I'm on keyboards or drums. It's just the most fun for me, and it's relaxing, actually.
Live album coming soon, maybe? I'd like to hear it.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Love to hear those delicious pipes of yours blaring out all sorts of anything. Honestly, any song at all.
Well, I'm not under no illusion of being any kind of great singer. I can carry a tune, but I'm not a great singer. I just enjoy doing it. And the other guys, I think, are too shy to sing. And I am, again, the attention whore of the group.
I'm sure you could pull it off, but either way, unless you perhaps needed a singer from me. No, don't. No, I will scare off the audience. Don't.
Don't call us, kid. We'll call you.
Anyway, John, let me just say, it's been an absolute blast getting you back on board again for an interview, so thank you so much for this.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. And, we have a lot of mutual friends. We're in the same industry together. It's always a pleasure to hang with somebody like you, Jake, who has so much great information. You've taught me a few things today, and for that, I thank you. I am grateful. One more time, another score for Jake Parr.
All right, I'm making my family proud for once. Yes. Anyway, anything you would like to say to the many,
I'd like to say this. Stay tuned for a special episode of the Cyber Den with Jake Parr. I'll be his guest. Do you know who I am? Say my name. Go ahead, say it. Hail to the king, baby. There, maybe you can use that at the beginning of the show. I don't know. That's up to you.
Maybe you could, with Jake the Voice.
Jake the Voice Parr. Jake the Voice Parr kicks ass.
Seal of approval from Duke Nukem. Bye-bye. Anyway, I'd like to thank as well all of the lovely fans out there of the Cyber Den. Thank you very much for tuning into this interview as well. So, John, let me just say as well, hail to the king, and I regret nothing.
Thanks, Jake.
Hail to the king, baby. I'm Duke Nukem, and you're listening to Jake on the Cyber Den.